Hello. Hi everyone, how are we doing? Is my mic okay? I seem to be a bit loud, am I? Good to see you all. Let me just get centralised. How are we doing? Thanks for joining me today. Bit late this morning. Yesterday I didn't manage to make time for my meditation or like my breathing practice, and yeah, this morning I was just determined, and I think I ended up doing about an hour's meditation. I feel really good. I just felt like I needed some me time, and now I'm firing on all cylinders and I'm ready to have fun with all my mates. Who's in here? Mark, Crossy, Stone, Jid. How are you doing, Jid? Where in the world are you? Are you new to the stream? I'm not sure if I remember that name. Carolyn Herbert, Lorraine Edie, Anna Marie Wellington, Sean, Robert Pacino, Vegan Realist, all their usual gang. D. Hey Hench, some people say eating grass-fed beef is more ethical than a vegan diet because of fewer crop deaths and the fact that there's only one organism is being killed. What's your take? Well, that's nonsense for a start. How are cows eating grass in the winter? They're eating hay. So what happens to the hay? It has to be harvested, the same as we harvest like other grasses such as wheat. So it's nonsense. Per like million calories, like there's very few actual deaths if we look at the what little data we do have. And the other thing is, like, we're not obliged to like wreck our health in order, you know, for a sort of ethical belief. Like the least harm you could do would be to kill yourself. Well, no one's going to advocate that that's a good idea. So, yeah, it's, you know, at the end of the day, eating an animal, like, accelerates your death and gives you, like, ill health. And as veganism becomes more and more popular, which it is doing so, at some point, we'll be moving more onto veganic farming, onto permaculture. You know, there'll be very little in the way of like animal harm at that point. And you know, what there is at the minute in terms of animal harm is like collateral damage, like accidental, if you like. You know, these people are not going to advocate for not driving your car, are they? But yet that kills animals like accidentally in the same way that farm machinery kills animals accidentally sometimes. But it's few and far between. You know, you've got a big lumbering combine harvester, massive machine thundering along, little animals, they're really flighty. They're not going to sit around and wait, are they? There's just, and how many bugs do you find like in your food? Like, I don't buy it. I don't buy it. And of these people, how many of them are eating that way? Probably none of them, next to none. Oh, Joan got a notification on Twitter. Very good. Thanks for joining. Yeah, and Jid brings up a good point. Not everyone could eat that way. Like, we need something like 3.5 planet Earths. Yeah. The best thing to do would be to stop animal agriculture, rewild all that farmland, or the vast majority of it. We'd only need a small fraction of it for like vegan food. The rest could be rewilded. And then you know, we've lost 40% of the land animals. Sorry, what am I on about? Is it 60%? Have we lost 60% of the land animals in the last 40 years since like real mass like scale animal agriculture? Is that the statistic? I forget now. But we've lost over half of our natural species because of people eating animals. So the more that people eat animals, the more natural habitat, like forests, we have to destroy to create grassland. So therefore you're killing exponentially more animals. So it don't make sense whichever way you look at it. Hi Lolly, thanks for joining. Good old Lolly. Thanks Robert. Steve Barmer, is being vegan harmful to your health? Thanks. Well, nutritionally, like there's a vegan diet and then there's a vegan diet. So vegan just tells me what you're not eating. So if you're not eating animal products, that's good. Like, you're more likely to be healthful. However, if what you are eating is refined sugar, processed junk, you know, oils, biscuits, cakes, donuts, you're drinking like soda, you know, like fizzy drink, that's going to be a lot different than if you're eating like lentils, quinoa, kale, berries, you know, nuts and seeds. It's going to be a lot different. So if you do it properly, a whole foods vegan diet, supplementing for B12, because we don't, you know, we're not drinking untreated water now, and vitamin D if we're not getting sun, you're going to be exponentially healthier than anyone else on average. Yeah, it's huge. You can prevent, treat, and reverse like so many of the main reason people die in the West is because of what we eat. You know, and it's the fat, it's the cholesterol, it's the trans fats, mostly from animal products. But some plant foods that are processed also are harmful. So it's really sticking to legumes, whole grains, fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, herbs, and spices, and not eating animal products and processed junk plant foods. That's the answer. Marcus exclamation mark is in the house. Thanks for joining. Mick Walsh, I'm very good. Kieran's also in the house. Love the beard. Thank you. It's a little bit longer than I normally let it go. Steve, I've been told that being vegan is harmful to the body. I've been told that everything's harmful to the body and also everything's great. Do you know what I mean? Like, who's telling you? Check your sources. So how I arrived at this whole foods vegan diet way of eating is that I looked at the evidence, you know, and there is evidence that animal products are healthy. But if you look to see who funded the data which supplies that evidence, you'll find nearly every time it's the meat industry funded that. Yeah, so they had that study is biased because it serves the people who paid for it. And the scientists are not stupid. They know if they get hired by a company to show how great their products are and the products are killing you, like, they can just fiddle things, or they can design the study in such a way to make it look good. Or they can, you know, publish the correct response, which is animal products give you our number one killer, heart disease, and they can never get hired again by that company. And companies have no onus to publish their findings. So they only publish the studies that make them look good. So 90% of studies are funded by the industries that stand to profit from a favourable outcome. So that's problem number one. So we must look to see, right, who funded these studies? And then the ones that were funded by those industries, they are 4 to 8 times more likely to be favourable versus if it was an independent study, far more likely that would have been a horrible outcome. You know, and the biggest nutrition authorities in the world, what are they saying? Eat more fruits and vegetables, because they're going off the preponderance of data. They're not looking at an odd study, which someone said that meat was great. No, they're looking at all the studies. The vast majority of them, non-industry funded, will tell you meat is horrible, and they will tell you to eat more fruits and vegetables. So the biggest health authorities in the world, like the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics, the British Dietetics Association, you know, the World Health Organization, they will say, eat more fruits and vegetables and whole grains and legumes and nuts and seeds, and eat less. And depending on where you're talking about, you know, they might not say eat less animal products. They might say eat less saturated fat and cholesterol. Why are they saying eat more fruits and vegetables, which are a type of food, and then saying eat less saturated fat and cholesterol? Why are they saying components of food now and not the food type? And it's because, so we're talking about here the USDA, and they have twin mandates, and one is to publish like health information, but the other thing is they have to promote agriculture. So they can't come out and say, oh, don't eat animals, because they're trying to promote eating meat and dairy. So we have to use our heads and read between the lines, and thus you'll always get the odd person saying that being vegan. Being vegan, yes, it can be bad for you if you're not eating a healthy, nutritious diet. Veganism is not a diet. Veganism is a belief, and it's about not exploiting or being cruel to animals. And a whole foods plant-based diet or whole foods vegan diet is a way of accomplishing that through your diet, but with getting all your nutrients. Okay, you want to supplement vitamin B12, vitamin D if you're not getting sun. Other than that, you can get your nutrients from the diet. And if you're eating a vegan diet, but you're eating crisps, you're eating donuts, you're eating sweets, candies, don't expect to be healthy. Okay. Lewis, did you watch UFC last night? No. I've kind of, over the years, I used to be well into my fighting arts. I used to enjoy conflict, to be honest. I used to be a doorman, and in a very violent, negative, horrible world. And to be honest, I've kind of finding veganism kind of, I don't want to say evolved, like I'm looking down on people, but I feel like I've sort of outgrown it in a way. I don't know how to. And again, I don't want to. There's nothing wrong with fighting arts and sport. Like, that's great, but I feel like I spent, 30 years being involved in that and immersed in it daily. I was doing martial arts training daily. I got into working doors as a bouncer to find out how does martial arts fit into real combat. So then I could be more confident in my ability to protect myself and to teach self-protection to people, because I was, a martial arts instructor. And now I just don't want to hurt people. I don't want to just take up too much brain capacity in that area, if you see what I mean. It's not that I'm disinterested in it, but I don't have such a draw to it. And I'd rather spend my time in a more, I don't want to say positive manner, but more like promoting veganism and learning about health and things, I suppose. That's how I put it. Who was fighting anyway? I would be half interested to know who was fighting. We aren't martyrs, Jid. That's a really good point. Shake the emulsifier. Do you have a take on UK politics? No, I'm just really disinterested, to be honest. I feel it's all very self-serving, and I don't know how much sway we can have and what good it really does us. I hope that Brian Rose becomes, the London Real guy becomes mayor in London. I think that would be the best thing to happen to politics for a long while. Shake it up a bit. Hans Good, do you stream every Sunday? I'm new here. Welcome to the stream, Hans Good. And yeah, typically I'm on a little earlier. I was a bit later on today, but normally about 7 a.m. GMT I'll be on a Sunday. But I will be on at some point. So the best thing to do is subscribe, hit the bell notification, and follow me on Instagram, hench_herbivore, because I always announce when I'm coming on. Yep, that sure will, Jid. Lewis, what do you think of Greg Doucette? This will sound bonkers. I mean, obviously, I'm not a fan of the fact that he eats animals, but other than that, I'm actually a huge fan of his. And my take is, when I first came across him, like when I first came across Gary Vaynerchuk, the entrepreneurial genius, they both struck me as brash, loud, opinionated. After watching them for a while, what I've learned is, they're passionate, they're confident, they know their subject matter, and I've got a lot of time for him. Believe it or not. A lot of people give me a hard time for that. But there it is. Obviously, I'd rather that he was vegan. And, he's got a lot of animals. He does eat, for a bodybuilder, he eats a lot of fibre. He's got the idea about filling yourself up on low calorie, fibre and water rich foods. So who knows, one day maybe he might get there. That would be very good. Shake that emulsifier. Also, what are your favourite Norwich shops, food and everything else? Well, we've got the little shop of vegans, haven't we? Little shop of vegans. In terms of restaurants, my very favourite, I would say, is probably Namaste India. which is vegan and vegetarian, but all the vegetarian dishes can be made vegan as well. I'm good friends with the Gitanis who run that, and they're such lovely people, really warm. They feel like family, in all honesty. Then we've got the UK's largest restaurant, which is Erpingham House. They're my top picks. There's a new green eatery on Opie Street. That's vegan. It's been so long since I've been out to a restaurant because of the COVID thing. I've sort of forgotten. Tofu-Rai, which is a artisan dairy. It's in the style of the Chinese sort of vegan cafe. It's like on site, and they make their soy products on site and serve like a little cafe. It's really, really good. It's the UK's first of its kind, but they're huge in China, these little dairy sort of cafe type places. And that's all I can think of right now. Mr. Crazy Loving Guy, how long should I pre-soak lentils? I don't know. I don't really know. Years ago, I took to soaking things like legumes and nuts and seeds. And typically, I think I sort of did it overnight, but I don't have any specific timings. But I've not done it for a long while, to be honest. Reese is giving us a round of applause. Not a vegan myself, but appreciate the cause. That is really nice of you to say, Reese. Thank you, brother. You are a kind person. Yeah, D, species extinction. Yeah, that's huge. So it's the first, this supposedly is known as the 6th mass extinction. You know, and it's when there's been a catastrophic like event, like a meteor hit or terrible like ice ages, wiping out like most of life. And we've done it this time, and we're still doing it. We're in the midst of it, and it's all because we're eating animals. It's terribly sad and upsetting. Jackie, I've been eating activated nut butters. What does activated mean? Is it that they're like sprouted? Can you make butters out of a sprout? Do you know? I don't even know. Activated. I would need to know now. I'm going to look it up. This isn't very good. This isn't very good content. Sorry, I'm just typing away. Activated nut butter meaning. Easier to digest and cause less heavy feeling. I've got to think they're sprouted, are they? Oh, they've been soaked in water for 24 hours and then dried out again. So yeah, you're basically sort of starting the germination process. So that's kind of starting to break down. Yeah, Jid's got it. Lewis, what's your opinion on corn, specifically the vegan corn chicken fillet tension? The macros are pretty insane. Healthy or no? Healthy or no compared to what is always the sort of suffix you need to put on the end. So, you know, it's corn, sorry, it's mushroom mycoprotein. It's protein from mushrooms. And so healthier than meat, eggs, dairy, hell yeah. Healthier than a whole bean, you know, which is the sort of most protein rich, or one of the most protein rich whole plant foods. No, you know, you've not got so much of the fibre and the phytochemicals. This is the way I approach it, and each to their own. So I've got two things going on, like the USDA. I'm trying to be as healthy as possible while being a bodybuilder, which is inherently has unhealthy aspects. So how I try to mitigate that is I eat a whole foods plant-based diet, but I have a couple of servings of a more processed plant food. So it might be something like corn. I've not eaten that in years, but I'm not adverse to eating it. Might be corn, might be a protein powder, might be tofu. Lately, I've been eating a lot of seitan, which is really high in protein and low in everything else. Is that healthy? Again, healthy compared to what? Healthier than how I used to eat, which was mostly meat, eggs and fish and dairy. As healthy as a completely whole foods plant-based diet? Not quite, not too bad. And you have to work out what you want and what you're comfortable with, and it's your risk aversion you need to look at. Carolyn, I'm on a fitness plan with prescribed workouts and some nutritional planning. If whole foods plant-based and getting 15 to 20% protein, is this enough? It depends, really, is the answer. It depends on your total calories, and it depends on your, we have individual needs. If you were like really trying to put on massive amounts of mass, like a bodybuilder, maybe like a drug enhanced one, like possibly you'd need a little more to be optimal. For your average person, as long as you're not on a terribly low amount of calories, say you're doing a cut, probably is the answer. So the way to really know is if it's not really so much, it depends what you mean by fitness. Like, is it like cardio? Is it sort of physique strength? If it's kind of physique strength, then you need more than like someone, who's just doing cardio, basically. So just for cardio, I'd say that's probably enough. If you're more in the strength physique sort of category, then the science is, if you're in a caloric surplus trying to grow muscle and you're eating more calories than you're burning off, 1.62 grams of protein per kilo of leanish body weight per day will be optimal. You might need more than that, and any less, you may retard your progress to some degree. Super chat. Thank you, Stephen. I'll get to that in a sec. And then if you're trying to maintain your body weight and hopefully grow a bit of muscle, burn a bit of fat, or recomposition as we call it, or if you're in a caloric deficit, you're burning more calories than you're consuming, with a view to leaning out, just to drop in your, with a view to leaning out and gaining muscle. I just confused myself. What was I on about? Yeah, if you're just doing a diet, I've already said recomp. If you're just dieting, then more like, or recomping, more like 2 grams of protein per kilo of leanish body weight per day would be more optimal. So you actually need more protein if you're taking in less calories and you're trying to recomp or you're trying to burn fat off, versus if you're trying to grow and you're eating more calories, you can then pull the protein back a little bit, because carbs and fat have a protein sparing effect, if that makes sense. So specifically, if you're not eating enough calories, a lot of your protein will be burned as energy, and therefore you can't grow. Right. Confused myself halfway through there. Sorry about that. Right, super chat. Stephen Winchester, you lovely man. He's kindly donated 5 Great British bucks. What a lovely guy. Is the vaccine vegan? That's a really good question. I did look into it when, specifically the Pfizer one, when that first came out. Now, historically, by law, all vaccines had to be tested on animals. So all vaccines were not vegan. Is it vegan to take them? So veganism isn't perfection. It isn't like not doing, like eating animals or using them. It's, how do I explain it? It's as far as is possible and practicable. And if there's a good likelihood that you'll die if you don't take this medicine, it wouldn't be considered non-vegan to take that medicine, unless there's a non-vegan version, at which point obviously you take that version. So do you see what I mean? So just because something's not vegan by nature doesn't make you not vegan for having to use it. I mean, obviously that's open to debate if you have to or not. So there's all on a case-by-case basis. But basically, so historically, by nature, vaccines were never vegan. But because of the speed with which they had to develop this one, apparently they missed out the animal testing step. It's the first time in history. And I understand that that's true for other vaccines since the Pfizer one as well, but I've not really looked into them. So they were not non-vegan from that perspective. And then I had a look on the government website, and it said that the Pfizer vaccine contains no products of animal origin. So technically, I suppose it's vegan from that perspective. The only thing where I kind of query that really is that there is, and I'm no expert on on vaccines, so I might get this slightly wrong, but there's isn't there like DNA or RNA in the vaccine which came from cells cultured from human fetuses, like back in the 60s. So my argument would be, well, that that fraction is from animal origin, human specifically. So do with that what you will, basically. Right. I'm gonna carry on. If I miss your comment or question, do pop it back in the chat. Oh, look, he's there.
Cowboy wants.
Cowboy's there.
You really wanted
The
to
best
come in.
one. What did he tell you?
Group hug.
Yuck.
How is everyone today? Hello.
Everyone's here.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, I see Mooncat's just pitched up. Do subscribe to Vegan Mooncat. He's blinking great. He's a great person.
Sometimes we have a hug like this until Cowboy says he's had enough.
Oh.
He don't mind it today, look at him.
Sunshine Skis. What do I need to consume to stop my hair receding? I'm afraid like that might just be the nature of your genetics. Potentially, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's a nutrient deficiency. Obviously, that can be a thing. I would say if it's receding and not falling out all over, likely that's your genetics, and there's nothing you can do, I'm afraid. I'm having ground chia seeds, mangoes, baby spinach, omega-3 algae oil, avoided biotin. All you can do is to make sure that you're getting your minimum RDA of all the different nutrients and that you're getting enough calories. So get on the Chronometer app, plug your foods in, make sure you're getting legumes, whole grains, fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, herbs and spices. And make sure you're getting all your vitamins, like the minimum RDAs, all your minerals. And as you're already doing, your omega-3, also omega-6 is an essential fatty acid. But it sounds like you're doing 200,000 IUs of vitamin D, yeah, so that's important. Protein would be important as well. Oh, I inadvertently answered Geraldine's question when I answered someone else's. You're very welcome, my friend. How are you doing? I don't know if I've seen you in the stream before. Where in the world are you, and how's it going? How's the vegan scene where you are? Gomez is there, who is a lady one, despite what the name may make you think potentially. Mon and Fri 49 cannot sleep. Oh, let me say hi. It's the 56-year vegan. I've been elected grandma. Oh, look at those emojis. They're delightful, and you're a delight, Gomez. And thank you for joining. And I'm sorry to hear that you can't sleep. Satiric, how do footballers in the Premier League eat such crappy diets, still have energy to perform at such a high level? Just because the human body is amazing. And particularly while we're younger, we can get away with amazing, just heinous acts on our bodies. What I've noticed is into middle and older age, where are those athletes now? But yet the vegan athletes are still thriving and potentially even improving, particularly in physique sports and stuff. So your Jones is in the house, what up? Vegan something's in the house. Rossio is very probably a meat eater and trying to cause me ill feeling. So I'm sorry that you feel threatened by my kindness. Strange. Caroline Herbert, thanks. That's helped so much. Many thanks. Might change my handle to Caroline. Herbivore. Yeah, you should. That'd be really good. I can't be bothered with a load of vaccine nonsense. I'm really not interested. Oh, there's a Gemma and cowboy emoji. I love it. Alexander, hello. Hope you're doing great. I am, thank you. Hope you're doing great too. My question is, what are the benefits and downsides of front loading versus back loading carbs? I had pasta for dinner. I don't know if it helps losing weight. So the science is, you know that whole thing for years we said breakfast like a king, lunch like a prince, dinner like a pauper. It's true. And so we found this out through a branch of science called chronobiology. So basically, 1,000 calories eaten at breakfast will have much of a less of an weight gaining effect on your body than 1,000 calories eaten just before bed. And in fact, I wouldn't eat just before bed. I'd leave like at least a 3-hour gap ideally. I now try to eat in a 12-hour eating window. So I've got at least 12 hours where my digestion, well, it's not 12 hours, but there's a good few hours where my digestion can take a break. Hormesis can occur. So because your body's not sorting through all these, proteins and other nutrients, it can actually turn in on itself, like hunker down and go into like repair mode. So you can actually undo like DNA damage, and it's like an anti-cancer effect if you're not eating like all the time. So I now eat in like a 12-hour window, but I front load my calories. I eat high carb because that's the healthiest way to eat. It's clinically proven. So most of the calories in my first meal, and then a decent amount of calories in my second meal, and my third meal, is lower in calories. I have a couple of snacks in between as well. So I'm basically eating 5 times a day, but the bulk of my calories are earlier on and they taper off. And then I'm not eating for at least 12 hours at all. And that is the best for fat loss. And and with this sort of kind of intermittent fasting effect, that's like anti-cancer as well. Matt, what would be a good amount of meals per day for an athlete? How would you spread them out? How many big meals? 185 centimeters, 81 kilos. So I think, a lot of fuss was made about eating multiple times a day, but that's been disproven. I think optimally, just in terms of getting all the food in that you need to and not feeling too full, if you're eating healthfully, I say 3 to 5 times. 3 to 5. I ate 4 times. Years ago, I ate 8 times a day when I was eating mostly chicken and stuff. And that was miserable. I went down to 3 times. I found that was kind of hard on my healthy diet to fit all the food in. But I noticed no difference in my recovery, my performance, my, strength increases, muscle growth. Between 3 and 8 meals, I noticed no difference at all. So it's just really what you're comfortable with. Currently now, I have 3 large meals, 2 snacks in between. And I just find that whatever works for you, really. But it's really getting the food in more than it is amounts and timings and things. But as I was saying earlier, it's better to front load your calories, like fuel your day. And then towards the evening, your metabolism slows down. You don't need as many calories, and the calories you do eat will be worth like more, if you see what I mean. So they're more detrimental. So it'd be easier to put like fat on if you're not trying to grow. That's my CBD alarm. I take this 3 times a day. If you're an athlete, CBD oil, it's huge. Powerful anti-inflammatory. So exercise recovery, like injuries, just pain throughout the body. I find it nice as an anxiolytic. It kind of just relaxes my system. I accidentally took 4 instead of 3. This 30% is real powerful. Link below, 30% off your first order, code HENCH30, HENCHCBD30, sorry. Honest Hemp. I love it. I really like it. Helps you sleep as well, which obviously sleep is hugely important for athletes and for general health. Like dementia, like it's huge. Risk for dementia is hugely raised if we're not sleeping, 7, 8 hours. Gomez brings up a good point. Thyroid issues and stress can give hair loss. Yeah, this is just one of those things. D3 is not vegan. There is vegan D3. It's made from lichen, which is a kind of a cross between moss and algae. It's called lichen, and it's so it's technically it's not a plant, but it's not an animal either. It is vegan. So. And D3 is more bioavailable than D2. So I do recommend D3 over D2, but don't get a standard D3 because that is made from lanolin, which is basically sort of sheep sweat. There's like this substance that sheep secrete onto their wool to keep them like waterproof. And incidentally, that's why they put it on cornflakes. But, I don't want to be eating sheep sweat if I'm really quite honest. I'd put up with soggy cornflakes. Thank you very much. But no, you can get vegan D3, but it needs to be labelled vegan. And as I say, this is made from lichen instead of lanolin. Marcus, what are your thoughts on Black Lives Matter? Well, I don't really know a whole lot about the group or whatever it is, the movement. But what I will say is, yeah, of course, Black Lives Matter. Like, all lives matter. And I think... wasn't there some controversy where, obviously something really terrible happened to a black person, and so rightly so, people were outraged, and then, some vegans will say, all lives matter, and it's, I see what their point is. You're just taking the, just let them have their moment. Like, yeah, why not? I got behind it. I did. I put the black screen on my Instagram, and I think these are all important issues. Bigotry anywhere, like just anything like that, where you're just subjugating like others, be they a different race, a different sex, a different sexual orientation, a different species. It's all wrong, and it should be tackled on its own merits and not all just necessarily like lumped in. But of course, yeah, like all lives matter. Yeah, so, but maybe that's an argument for another day sometimes, and we can just get behind people who have been hurt and done wrong and stand up for them also. Yeah, that's my just thoughts on it. Chris Brooks, hey Paul, what fruits are best to consume on a daily basis? All of them. The particular sort of superstars probably are the berries because they're so antioxidant rich. So I'd say berries. Any fruit that's really deep in colour is going to have a lot more antioxidants. So really deeply coloured things like pomegranates and the like as well. But possibly the most important thing is to eat the widest range of foods. So I really try to mix up. So yeah, I do try to eat berries every day. I'll eat some sort of seeds every day, including flax and chia. But I'll mix the berries up. I'll mix other seeds up. I have my flax and chia, but I'll have other seeds. I'll have the odd nuts. I'll have different grains, I'll have different legumes, I'll have different vegetables. But I will keep some greens in there, but I'll eat the other colours. But I just rotate them. Like the more variety of whole plant foods, the more different types of fibre you feed into the gut microbiome, and the better that will flourish. The more diverse the species of bacteria in your gut, in your colon, specifically the Prevotella species that eat soluble fibre resistant starch and polyphenols. So the good guys that create vitamins, they train the immune system, they create hormonal balance, they create these short chain fatty acids, which are the substrate. They cross the blood-brain barrier, and in the brain they create, your serotonin, your dopamine, your norepinephrine. And they modulate like physical metabolic processes. Like in the liver, they stop you producing so much HMG-CoA reductase, and that's the rate limiting factor in your body's production of cholesterol. So they do the same job as a statin to stop you having like heart disease, stop you getting a heart attack, but they don't cause muscle wastage. They don't raise your risk for cancer like statins do. Like they're amazing. I've gone on such a tangent, I can't remember what I was saying, but basically, yeah, eat the range of whole plant foods. We want the most different types of fiber, different types of resistant starch. This is more from your legumes and whole grains. Soluble fiber is more like your fruits and veggies. Nuts and seeds are important too. The more range we give these bacteria, the more different bacteria we're going to foster, and the better the potential for overall mental and physical wellness. It's all, the linchpin is this gut microbiome. Okay. Right, where was I? So I got lost for a second. Here we are. Oh, thank you, Gomez. Vegan D3 does exist. It's called sunshine. Yep, that's true. And don't. Oh, sorry. You call it VitaShine, right? So it's a type of vegan. Sorry, I've gone blind. What else was I going to say? Yeah, and don't forget, there is no such thing as vitamin D. That's a misnomer. It's actually a hormone. It's 1,2,5-dihydroxycalciferol. It's a hormone. It's responsible for over 3,000 of our body's metabolic processes, but we manufacture it ourselves from the action of the sun on our skin, and then our cholesterol, which we stupidly either eat from another animal or we create endogenously from acetyl coenzyme A. Like we don't. It's not essential to eat animals. We produce it, and then we make dihydroxycalciferol. So therefore, it's not a vitamin. That, I believe, that was the dairy industry started that little bit of fabrication to sell you more milk. Little buggers. Aura 268P, how can tempeh be made to taste good? It's a bit of an acquired taste, isn't it, tempeh? But like tofu, it's all in the marinade. I like tempeh bacon a hell of a lot. So that is a lot of smoked paprika. It's one way. You can use liquid smoke as well, but I think paprika is probably healthier. A lot of smoked paprika, a little maple syrup, and then some tamari or soy sauce. So that would be good. Or you can make different kinds of marinades, like something like that as the base, not necessarily the smoked paprika, but then like chili, different herbs, and acid in there, like lemon or lime. Again, a little maple syrup to balance that out is always good. You don't have to go mad on it. Yes, finding a really good marinade, you know, like using garlic and spring onions or scallions, depending on where you live in the world. Sunshine Scoos, which plant foods do I need to fill my choline requirements daily? I struggle to get that filled. You probably don't need to get that filled. There's one proviso, so it's not an essential nutrient, it's conditionally essential. So if your methionine, B12 and folate levels are low, you won't be able to produce your own choline so well, and you would need to eat more exogenous choline. But you can get that from legumes, whole grains, and the brassicas, you know, like your cruciferous vegetables like broccoli, kale, kalettes, cabbage, all that type of stuff. Cruciferous comes from, if you chop the stem, it's a cross, crucifer. So these sort of peppery type vegetables, they have a good amount of choline. There's much more in eggs and chicken. However, choline in excess feeds pathogenic Bacteroides gut bacteria, creates trimethylamine. Once that oxidizes in the liver, creates trimethylamine oxide. That accelerates atherosclerotic deposition, so it accelerates heart disease. It makes it harder for your body to clear cholesterol out of the bloodstream, so that's like doubly bad. Raises your risk for like colon cancer, diabetes. It's known as the molecule from hell. So we don't have terribly great data on choline. We know 50 milligrams or less a day seems to not be enough for most people. But again, most people are probably not eating a healthy diet and getting all their B12. Like 40% of Americans almost are to be low B12 status. You know, if you're not getting your methionine, which basically means you're not eating adequate protein, well, most people are eating adequate protein, but folate from foliage and other plant foods, a lot of people might be low on folate, so they might need more choline than others. We shouldn't, if we're eating healthily, we shouldn't need at least half as much. So the science is 50 milligrams or less seems to be inadequate. 500 milligrams or more seems to be enough for pretty much everyone. We don't have much data in between. So they've gone arbitrarily at that 500 because most people are getting that from their diet and most people do not have choline deficiency. However, we don't know what is the minimum RDA. Like, that's just an arbitrary number. Same as omega-6. We don't know what is the RDA of omega-6. We've arbitrarily just given an average of what most people eat where it doesn't, deficiency doesn't present in the Western world. However, that diet, that population, the diet that population are eating, they're a sick population. Like you don't want to mimic everything about that diet. So personally, I think I get about 300 milligrams or so minimum of choline. Technically the recommended amount is 500. I sometimes get that. I often don't. I don't worry about it one little bit because I've got my folate, I've got my B12, I've got my methionine, and so it's not essential in the traditional sense of the word. It seems to be conditionally essential. Maybe we need a little bit. We're not really sure. The science hasn't really been done. But if you're eating legumes and whole grains and these cruciferous vegetables, we're going to get plenty from our vegan diet. So it's not something that I concern myself with. Time for a couple more. Vegan something, just a thought. We always see what you eat. What do you drink? Are you a water purist? Oh, so do I drink other things apart from water, do you mean? So in terms of water, I mean, I drink a lot of fluids throughout the day, sometimes plain, but usually I'll have something in the water. I think the main thing to talk about is that I don't directly drink tap water. I put my tap water in a Berkey filter, and it takes out 99.9 reoccurring% of impurities. Specifically, the thing I'm trying to avoid is chloride, because that is in there for the express purpose of killing bacteria, which is great. You don't want to be drinking bacteria. However, remember I was saying earlier, your gut microbiome is pivotal in terms of your health potential. So now it's madness to put tap water and dump it on your good bacteria because it's got chloride in it, which is in there for the express purpose of killing bacteria. So that's the number one thing I would say. And then, you know, in terms of what I actually drink, I have a couple of protein shakes a day. I use the Vivo Life Perform, link down there, 10% off if you want to have a look at that. But I find that really useful for my bodybuilding goals. If you're not bodybuilding, don't bother. You don't need it if you're eating healthily. What else do I drink? Mint tea. I drink quite a lot of mint tea, which is great for antioxidants. Occasionally hibiscus. Yeah, that's about it. Oh, we've got a last minute super chat. Eat Plants very generously donated $10. They've not got a question. They've not even got a question. They're just supporting their local neighborhood vegan YouTuber. Out of the kindness of their heart. Thank you, Eat Plants. That's really, really, really nice of you. Right. So that's a nice upbeat to end on, I think. Sorry, we've done an hour, but I came on, I had it running for a bit before I came on, didn't I? Let's do 5 more minutes, guys. 5 more minutes. Get your comments or questions in. And yeah, get your comments or questions in. I'm just going to go back a little ways. If I miss your comment or question, put it back in the chat. Red Trooper, good to see you. What's your natural sleep cycle? I'm usually asleep by 10 p.m. and I'm usually awake about 6 a.m., sometimes a little earlier. So I get a good, usually 8 hours, sometimes 7.5, rarely 7, but I feel really refreshed when I get up and I feel amazing and I go to it. Sunshield Scoos, which is the most deadly out of trans fat, saturated fats or cholesterol? That's a really interesting question and I don't really know. I know that cholesterol is the least harmful in terms of raising your serum LDL. So the only critical risk factor for heart disease, our number one killer, is an elevated serum LDL. Those three components do that. So you still don't want to eat it. But out of the three, I know cholesterol is the least damaging. And at some point, you know, you're eating so much and yeah, it's really horrible and you're going to die earlier, most probably. And if you're a bloke, you'll probably suffer, or you'll likely suffer with erectile dysfunction by your middle age. You can get non-mechanical low back pain, like you can mess your spine up because the atherosclerosis in the blood vessels feeding the vertebral discs. My eyesight is more than twice as strong since I've gone whole foods plant-based, and I think it's likely the reverse from the atherosclerosis that was clogging them up. Stroke, you know, you're risking stroke. So yeah, and there's no cholesterol in, or no harmful animal cholesterol. I think technically there is some sort of cholesterol, but it's so minuscule that basically there's no cholesterol in a vegan diet to speak of. So yeah, if you avoid animal products, you avoid cholesterol, which does raise the risk for the number one killer. Not as bad as trans fats and sat fat. I don't know which is worse out of the two. Trans fats is very minimal in products. It's not a whole lot. Obviously, there can be a reasonable amount in processed junk foods, like plant foods. So hydrogenated vegetable oil, that's got tons of trans fats. I wouldn't touch that with a barge pole. Is it worse than saturated fats? I don't know. And again, saturated fats, you know those short chain fatty acids I talk about, they're saturated fats, but they're extremely healthy. But specifically, the medium chain are moderately bad for heart health. The long and very long chain saturated triglycerides, type of saturated fat, they're extremely bad for heart health. So it's a bit like saying, do you want to be shot or stabbed to death? You know, just avoid the lot. That's the easy answer. Matt Slinky. Thoughts on seitan? Highly processed, yet Noah Hannibal loves the stuff and is doing well. Seitan. I've basically got some, which I'm going to eat later, but it's not quite as firm as I'd like, and I'm going to fry it back in the oven. I love it. I've discovered it recently because historically I had gluten intolerance. Gluten used to wreck me. It felt like a allergy. Really wrecked my body. I'd be in pain and nearly crying in pain and just rocking forwards and back, like just clutching my guts for like hours. It would be like a good 5 days before I'd really recover. It would wreck my week. Since curing the SIBO that I found out I had last year, or was it the year before now? Year before. I can have gluten. And yeah, I love it. Again, like, is it healthy? Is it unhealthy? Again, it's compared to what? So yeah, like meat, eggs, dairy are a lot more unhealthy because they got all those things that kill you. However, you know, whole grains, legumes, you know, with the protein, but plus the fiber and all the polyphenols, etc. You know, a lot healthier than the seitan. So, you know, again, I eat a bit of it on occasion. If I wasn't bodybuilding, I wouldn't be eating it personally. Is it going to kill me? You know, considering that the rest of my diet is whole plant foods, like 95% 5% of it or more, I'm not going to worry too much. Yeah, that's my thoughts on that. Federico, what are the foods you don't like the taste of, but you just eat for the nutritional profile? Sprouts, Brussels sprouts. And I'll only eat 1 or 2 or maybe 3. I think they taste like earwax. Don't ask me how I know what earwax tastes like. It's how I imagine it would taste. But most whole plant foods I actually have grown to love. You know, even like kale and stuff, some people don't like. I love it. You know, once you eat really well and you don't eat nonsense foods for long enough, you reset your taste buds and real food is enjoyable to you, except for sprouts. I can't get on with sprouts. Wow, Gomez, milk goes through a tanning bed in some processors. That wouldn't surprise me. That's really interesting though. I've not heard that before. I know some people use mushrooms and put them under UV light for the same reason. So actually fungi DNA is more closely linked with our DNA than it is plant DNA. So we're more fungus than plant. Yeah, oh, that wouldn't surprise me, but that's really interesting. Every day's a school day, eh? Gomez, I was trying to explain the difference between the acid and animal foods and the acid in, say, citrus fruits. It is different today at my age and my situation. I cannot find the right words. You know, milk leaches calcium from our bodies. That's been found to be untrue. Actually, we used to think that that protein specifically leaches calcium from our bones. So we thought that, yeah, the calcium came from the bones to buffer the acid in our blood from the protein. That's been disproven. And what that actually was is that the more protein we have, the more calcium we absorb from our diet. So that was actually disproven quite a few years ago, actually. But what the actual mechanism, and this is a great one to say to guys, particularly young guys and bodybuilders, it's not your bones that are being catabolized, it's your muscles. So we actually take aminos from our musculature. They're all turned into glutamine in the liver, and the glutamine is alkaline, and it's actually the glutamine that buffers the acid in our blood. So it's actually what we pee down the toilets. It's not our bones, but our muscles. And again, while we're younger, our testosterone is higher. It offsets that into middle and older age. Not so much because your testosterone dips. So that's a really good one to say to the guys. But then I told them to drink lemon water in the morning. They said the PO gets bitter. I said, take the peel off. Oh, the peel gets bitter. They're getting lots of oxalate problems, so lemon water should help with that. I don't know about that last bit. I've not come across any data about that. Yeah, so some people will say, why are you promoting lemons when you're saying acid is a problem? But the science is basically when things go in as acidic, like lemons, like watermelon, yeah, they're acidic going in, but the net result is they have so many alkaline minerals, so it actually alkalizes the body. And it's not always the case, but as a rule of thumb, generally things that go in as alkaline, such as meats, they have a lot of acidifying, like amino acids. So they actually create an acid load. So yeah, sort of back to front there, and sort of counterintuitive to what you think. And that's fine, Gomez. We like a lot of jabbering around here. We like a lot of jabbering. Right, time for a couple more. EK, my choline just arrived. Is it bad to take 500 to 700 milligrams a day? You shouldn't need to supplement choline. Again, the data's not really there, so do what you want. Don't take my advice as gospel. For me, as long as I'm getting 300 to 500 milligrams a day, I'm happy. I'm not going to worry about that. Excess choline, as I say, is turned into trimethylamine by pathogenic gut bacteria called the Bacteroides strains, and that creates trimethylamine. It's really horrible. I would seek to keep choline lower, and certainly, 500 is the maximum that anyone should need, so I wouldn't go 700. And that's the maximum someone should need if their diet's rubbish and they're not getting B12, methionine, and folate, which if you're eating a healthy vegan diet, you should be smashing all those things, and supplementing B12. So I wouldn't mess with it personally. There was a big, big controversy started when an editorial, this wasn't even based on good science, an editorial, basically this editor of a magazine saw that a vegan diet typically is lower in choline. Choline is important in brain development, so therefore vegans are risking brain development because they might not be getting adequate choline. Well, show me the science where that's been borne out. There is none. But headlines sell, and controversy, and some people now think that that's something to worry about. It's not a nutrient of concern. Steve Barmer, have you ever been to New Zealand? Your background looks like a typical scenery of New Zealand. Such a beautiful country. I've heard that it's really nice. Yeah, I've not, but I would like to go. Hopefully, once this COVID thing has calmed down somewhat and travel is allowed, with our new business venture that's happening later on, we will be doing some travelling to different places. So, I've not travelled to many countries. Turkey, Tenerife, which is like one of the Canary Islands. I've been to the Caribbean once. I've not been many places, and I really want to put that right. And we're going to do like a series of going to different countries, seeing the state of veganism there, trying the cuisine, meeting all the people, and so who knows? Maybe New Zealand will be on the list there, and that'd be good. I want to see everywhere. Spirulina tastes like worms. For some reason, that made gamers hungry. I'm just joking. Neil, I've heard it. Have you heard of that recent news story about peas not being classed as one of your 5 a day? Sorry, it's been asked already. I'm a bit late to the party. Never you mind. I've not heard that. And some people say the same thing, don't they, about white potatoes? But I disagree. White potatoes have some great stuff in there. They're not nutritionally devoid. And I can't see how peas are. I think that's complete nonsense. The 5 a day thing also, though, I think is complete nonsense. And, in Japan, it's been something like 17 a day for years. The more the better. The more fruit and veg you can eat, the better. You're just putting in loads of good stuff, displacing bad stuff. I think the 5 a day thing is nonsense, but I can't see why. Peas have loads of vitamins and minerals and protein and phytochemicals, polyphenols. They're a legume. They're one of the healthiest things you can eat. I don't buy that one little bit, but I'll be interested to read the story anyway. So thanks for bringing that to light. Right, I better go and do some other stuff. Thank you so much for hanging out. I love connecting with you guys, my wonderful audience. Thanks, moderators, for keeping us troll-free. Thanks for the super chats, keeping the beans on my toast, the wolves from the door, and the cameras rolling. Follow me, Hench Herbivore, Hench_Herbivore on Instagram if you want to see what I'm up to on a daily basis. If you're new here, we'd love you to become part of the Hench Herbivore community. You can do that by hitting the subscribe button, clicking the bell icon. And Gem and myself will be back for another live stream Monday, 6 p.m. GMT, to come and hang out with you. Really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. Have a wonderful day, whatever you're getting up to. See ya.